there, coin lovers. Scott here for Poogie's Hobby Shop. I was just polishing up some coins, and we're getting ready for our video on the anniversary of the Morgan silver dollar. So now I'm not a history expert by any means. I'm not a coin expert by any means. I'm just a hobby shop guy. But before we get started, we need a little history lesson. So let's go inside and check this out. So the story of the Morgan silver dollar begins before 1878, when the first coins came out. This one is an 1878 Philly, and it has die markers on it that indicate it came, the obverse side came from the very first set of dies, and the reverse came from the second set of dies. But it was the Bland-Allison Act of 1877 that enabled these coins to be made. The Bland-Allison Act was vetoed by President Ol Rutherford B Hayes, and I think that's what his friends called him, was Ol Rutherford B Hayes. He's one of those guys that always uses his middle initial in his name. You gotta like guys like that. Ol Rutherford B Hayes became president, and it was a little bit controversial how he won the Electoral College and all of that. But he was president, and he was a war hero as a general in the Union Army, and was wounded 4 times and had 4 horses shot out from beneath him in battle. So he was well known and well respected widely. And part of this Bland-Allison Act was to appease the silver mine owners out west. They had come across the Comstock lode and all of that, and they wanted an endless source, an endless market for their silver. And so the Morgan silver dollar was born, and the director of the mint, Henry Linderman, wanted a beautiful coin. He wanted a special coin this time. He had allegedly gotten he was a little disappointed in some of the work of Barber, especially with the recently made trade dollar. And so he had Barber and Morgan to have a little contest there, and Morgan won. And the model that Henry Morgan used was a lady from Philadelphia. She was a kindergarten teacher. Yeah, that's a kindergarten teacher on there. And her name was Anna Willis Williams. So Anna Willis at first didn't even want to do the whole thing until Morgan said something to her like, "What you talking about, Anna Willis?" And she eventually did agree. Then when Congress overrode the veto of Ol Rutherford B Hayes, the wheels started turning, and the mint quickly I think it was in February that the thing passed, they overrode the veto, and then on March the 11th in 1878, the first struck coin came out and was given at his request to Ol Rutherford B Hayes. He was a coin guy. We know from his collection on display right now at the museum and library in Fremont, Ohio, bearing his name. There are coins there, including that first struck Morgan silver dollar. Now, it's unclear what Ol Rutherford B Hayes did with the silver dollar. I have a theory on that, and this is kind of a Hoogie's theory on it. That you see him always posing in pictures. He's always posing with his hand stuffed into his coat or his vest or something. And I think that's what he's doing. I think he's got that coin up in there. And one reason that I think that could be is because it was only 2 years later, in 1880, that Queen Victoria herself, I think, maybe felt sorry for Ol Rutherford B Hayes not having a decent place to keep his coin. She had a beautiful hand-carved desk made from an old warship. No fooling. From an old warship that the Americans had recovered and given back to her to put in her fleet for a number of more years. That ship was called the Resolute, the HMS Resolute, and when it was decommissioned, some of the wood was removed and made into a beautiful hand-carved English oak desk, and she sent this desk to the White House in the States, and we know it now as the Resolute desk, and it's in the Oval Office right now. Been used by almost every single president since then. The only ones who did not use it in some way in the White House were the ones who were there while it was in the Smithsonian Museum after the assassination of JFK. So from the assassination of JFK up to the Carter administration, it was in the Smithsonian Museum. This coin is one of the type 1 kind. You can see on the reverse that this coin is rounded on the eagle's breast. It's not concave as in the type 2. That changed after the type 1 rounded breast version was out for a while. They discovered it was hard to stack the coin, and it rubbed unnecessarily on the eagle's breast, and so the concave breast was born in the type 2, and that's the that was one of the major changes. The other changes, they switched from the 8 tail feathers of the original coin, like mine here, and like the one Ol Rutherford B Hayes had, and changed it to 7 tail feathers, which was the traditional number of tail feathers for eagles on coins. So they just quietly did that, and a couple, those 2 minor changes. The eagle stayed with 7 tail feathers from then on. They did find another way to deal with the eagle's breast and keep it convex, make it convex again, and avoid the stacking and wearing problems. But it is a high point on the coin still, and it can be one of the first places to show wear on the Morgan silver dollar. That's our little history lesson for today. The Morgan silver dollar came out again on like I said, March the 11th, and we'll be celebrating here at Hoogie House. It'll be Sunday, and we'll probably have a little cranberry juice and maybe a little cake. Probably not 140 candles on there, but we'll see. Keep that in mind. I actually donated a Morgan silver dollar to Mr. Peavy's Big Show. Hopefully somebody will enjoy that. It's an 1878 also, and maybe it'll go to a really good home, make somebody happy. We'll see y'all next time. Like and subscribe. Eat those cranberries.